Last week's track was old school North America, and it seems as though we're carrying on that theme today. VIR, even with its recent modern upgrades, retains the feel of a track from days gone by. That'll be fitting for this car as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. VIR rose from the dead 2 decades ago and has slowly become a more prominent circuit. Let's take a look at it with our track guide. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spinning you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. Well, I know this is among your favorites, Joey, so I cannot wait for this race, especially with this car on it.
It really is one of my favorites, just a gem here in North America. VIR, otherwise known as Virginia International Raceway, smack between Danville and South Boston, right there on the Virginia-North Carolina border. 3.27 miles, 20 turns, and plenty of challenges await the drivers here. A couple notable areas. Turn 1, it's kind of an odd shape, but a great passing opportunity going into it. Really kind of a slower speed technical sector 1, but then comes my favorite part of the racetrack, the climbing S's. And in these cars, with the high downforce levels that they make, they suck themselves down to the road. They should be flat out through there. Unfortunately, we no longer have the Oak Tree in real life, and so that's going to be a kind of probably a talking point here today, but it launches you down the back straightaway up into roller coaster, another great passing opportunity and one of the highest points on the racetrack. It's called roller coaster because it is all downhill from there through hog pen and get your foot down for that run to the start-finish line.
Well, for the championship, it's been a dash towards trying to take the top spot, and Pauli Parton, Topi Kortinimi, and Jukka Tolvanen have been leading it, but it's been kind of a swap back and forth. It's only been interrupted last race by Juho Reina being the first of those 3 to take a win. That is not one of those 3 to take a win in this race. But Juho is so far behind that, in fact, he might even be mathematically out thanks to the drop weeks at this stage, even though we've got a few races left. But it'll be kind of a question mark on who amongst those top 3 can run away with this one, since they've all 3 been strong at various parts. What about in the F2 standings over there?
Right now, Sam Ryman is currently leading that F2 points championship. He also was giving us some insider knowledge before today's race, but Shady Ahmad giving chase, only 10 points back. Also consider Bjorn Ackerman inside that top 3 fight. Only 19 points separate the top 3. Then a little bit of a gap, but an incredibly close fight for what will be 4th place position. 4 points separating Peter Konechny and Thomas Silbernagel inside the top 5 there. then the rest of these names also locked into a fight themselves with only a few rounds left remaining.
As for today's race, they aim for about a half an hour, and considering last week was a super short lap, this one a little bit longer, so only 22 times around this circuit, and it's an open setup for this series. That'll probably be a big talking point because of that back stretch, really giving you chances to pass, but you need a fast car in a straight line. No spare car if you run into any sort of damage throughout the race. While the walls are far away on most of the track, it is possible and quite easy in some places to wind up smashing into that wall. So you got to watch out. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25 incidents out there today. Just getting the first lap times in this time. Topi Korteniemi with the provisional pole, but we're still waiting on Antti Lepisto and Jukka Tolinen, as well as a few others to put their lap in.
I think the biggest one that I'm surprised hasn't put down a lap yet, Joe, is that number 13 car, Jason Clapper, don't you think?
Jason isn't even out on the track right now, so he's going to try and take his time as usual. For those not familiar, he tends to never qualify. In fact, not just tends to, he just never qualifies. But we're not sure why, because we're still bugging him to try and come in and talk to us and haven't heard word from him quite yet on getting to know why he does that. As Pauli Partanen now down to second, as Topi Korteniemi has taken the quickest time, but by 1/100th of a second. Coming over from the Camel GT series, it looks like he's going to swap out the Audi for the Lotus, as Ian Haycox is out here today heading around Oak Tree.
Yeah, he's on his second qualifying lap right now in this green and orange number 11 car, sitting 14th on the board right now. This is going down that back straightaway, and Joe, there's so much elevation change as you go up and over these rolling hills in Virginia, approaching this roller coaster section.
Ooh, Pauli Partanen took the pole back. Topi Korteniemi is improving. 33.504 is not going to do it. Partanen, our pole sitter, by less than 1/10 of a second as it sits right now. Tolinen trying to finish his second lap. Can he improve? He's showing close to it as he comes to the line. 33.5. No, that's not going to do it. He will stay third. But look at that. Our top three in the points. All three of our winners so far this season are on the top three in the on the grid.
And I see less than 0.15 seconds separating those top three. So incredibly close, only 1/10.5 between those top three. Seamus Power crossing the line goes 11th with that fastest lap. I'm sorry, 10th with that fastest lap. And this is Sam Ryman putting his qualifying effort in.
Sam, with his first lap, 36.7. That's good enough for 15th. We'll see if he can improve on the next time around. Remember, that is our Formula 2 leader in the points. Now, they are all in the same machinery. The Formula 2 is just in reference to their iRating. They want to give sort of the, if you will, AM drivers a chance to try and fight for their own championship because, let's be honest, this series is stacked when it comes to talent.
It absolutely is. And talking about that F2 to F1 championship, I've been a part of this series, I think, a little bit now, so that I can kind of see the progression of some of these drivers. And it's really cool to see these drivers come from, battling for that F2 championship to graduate in that iRating, in that safety rating, to go up into the F1, and then eventually be fighting for podiums and wins.
So as we follow Sam down Madison Avenue now, let's see what he can do on this second lap here. It's just flat to the floor until you hit the roller coaster. Late braking because of the downforce in this car. Can he take it deep into the corner and still make the apex? Looks like he will, although I think I'm showing him as a little bit slower on this lap, although sometimes our timing and score can give us false information. So I'm going to sit tight and see whether or not the 63, well, technically the car number 19, can improve.
Around the bend on the start-finish straightaway, 135.38. So that does, Joe, it moves them up into 12th place provisionally right now.
Peter Konieczny still needs a lap time because he hasn't set one yet. So he's down to the line. First lap got deleted, unfortunately. Must have had a bit of an off. 35.5. That'll put him into 13th. and we only have Jason Clapper and Ellis Spice without lap times, but they're out of time to set one. So that means our qualifying is done now, and Pauli Partanen is on pole for the top split. Topi Korteniemi will start from second, as Jukka Tolinen will begin from P3. Last week's winner, Juho Raina, will start from P4. Can he make it back-to-back? That's been the trend all season. If you win one, you win the next one. Will he do that here today? Timothy Reed will start fifth, followed by Antti Lepisto, returning once again. Haven't seen him in a minute. He'll be P6. Alex Ott with an excellent qualifying there in seventh place, as Paul Williams will start eighth, and Dylan Freckleton ninth. Seamus Power winds up in 10th in the end.
The number 2 car, Gernot Frisha, way down here in 11th place in qualifying. We'll have to keep an eye on him. Sam Ryman with that 12th place effort. Then we have Peter Konecny in 13th, Daniel Banker in 14th. On row 8 will be Miguel Moreland and Barry West in the 16th place position. Ian Haycox in 17th. AJ Roper was the last car to put down a lap time in 18th. And then the final row will be Jason Clapper and Ellis Spice.
Okay, we currently have very cool conditions on the track, 68 Fahrenheit. These are old school tires, so they can sometimes take a bit to warm up. They won't be changing tires during this race, though. These were designed to go straight from start to finish back in those days, typically. So with the clear skies, will that start to warm it up here with it being early in the morning? And even though it's only a half an hour, we'll see it start to rise in the sky. We're waiting for just Partanen, Tolan, Raina, and a couple others to put themselves out onto the track. And as we said, if you believe in patterns, Juho Raina is due for his second ever win in the series, as he finally got his first last time out. Can he do that back-to-back for his first two? Looks like Partanen now the last one, along with Paul Williams, that we need out there. Pole sitter has put himself onto the grid, so has Williams. That means it's time to go racing. The engines now start to rev here in round 10. The lights are up, and the green flag is out. Topi Korteniemi pretty strong off the line. In fact, he's already gaining on Partanen to his inside. Can he manage to get beyond him? Coming around the outside as we got a car off. We think Alex Ott in the background. No, we can't quite get through there. The other Finn is going to be able to get up the inside. Jukka Tolinen is going to take second place.
And that's a great start for Tolinen. I believe it's Topi Korteniemi that has now slipped down into third as we round the sweeping turn 3 of NASCAR Bend and into this very slow, tedious turn 4, 5, 6 section. But now the drivers will start to put that right foot down as they go through the lower S's here, Joe. The snake, as they call it, into the climbing S's.
So what can be done from here? It looks like Korteniemi is still close behind Tolinen. He's going to have the draft, but there's not many places to pass along this portion, especially up and over South Bend. Then they dive through the valley that takes them into Oak Tree. And who can get on the gas the soonest? Who can get the throttle down and try and chase down Madison Avenue? Does look decent for Partanen. He is pulling along Tolinen, and I'm sure the two of them, as we've seen in the past, are going to try to work together to keep Topi behind.
And this straightaway is so long that you really can use that slipstream for your effect. Look at these three. They're really just closing in on each other. That accordion effect right there. Also consider Raina into it as well. Antti Lepisto is trying to hang on.
So we've got 5 Finns in the top 5 right now. It looks like it is just finished domination once again here today. Good run from Topi. He's all over the gearbox of the number 5. Will Tolinen defend? He holds to the right-hand side, coming down to the corner, leaves just enough space, trying to take it very shallow into the turn. Topi can't quite get the overlap, but he does send Jukka in deep, trying to break a little hard there. No change of position between the top 3, though.
Well, and if you really watch the attitude of Jukka's car when he got pushed out wide there because of what Topi did, he's really just kind of squirming all over the place, whether that's still the tire warm-up, whether that's a little bit of a lower downforce set, whatever it is, it seems like Jukka's still getting used to the car.
Well, as we watch from on board Topi, a bit of an update on Alex Ott. The irony of him having problems at the start is he apparently had texted into the race chat that, good luck, I'm bad on cold tires. Well, that came immediately true.
Well, I don't think that anybody is ever great on cold tires, but you just have to understand what they can and can't give you. Once you kind of understand those limits, you can approach them a little bit more comfortably, but we've been talking about the 3 up front. I think Juho Raina has officially inserted himself into that 4th spot.
And Dylan Freckleton just lost, I think, 2 through oak trees, trying to get one back on Paul Williams here. As we watch them come side by side up into the braking of roller coaster. Williams will retain the position. Gernot Frische up 3 since the start of this race. Seamus Power has done likewise in front of him.
I think we'll have to keep an eye on that blue number 2 card that you were just mentioning, Mr. Frische, because he had that poor qualifying effort, already up 3 positions into that 8th spot. So I think that he's on the charge today.
Hopping on board here with Gernot, looking up to Seamus Power, but can't quite get anything done down into the horseshoe this time by Paul Williams just behind him, also kind of hounding him as we looked off the rear wing briefly. They'll swing into NASCAR Bend now, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, a battle for 7th.
Slowest section of the racetrack here. I mention it because these cars, they make all the downforce and the higher speeds. That's when they're happy, more when they're accelerating up through the gears here. Those slow speed corners, you just have to really be careful about what you're doing on those wheel inputs and the pedal inputs.
That's true. As we come back to the battle for the lead here, it's about a second between Partanen and Tolinen, but Topi has continued to stay quite close to the back of Yuka and just hasn't been able to make a pass up to this stage. We've seen a couple attempts, but he's going to have to probably set this one up. Let's see who's got the straight line speed here, though. As I mentioned earlier, I imagine that's going to be a talking point all night long.
And that really comes down to the different wing levels. Now, there's various different things, ride heights, gear ratios, all this stuff, but the most basic is that rear wing level. Now, the more downforce, you're going to crank that wing angle into it. It's going to give you the confidence in the turns and in the braking zones, but here on the straightaways, you actually don't have the top speed, so a lot of these front runners, they'll start to lay that rear wing down and really benefit from the speed on the straightaway.
So far, it hasn't been low enough for Topi because he's been still stuck behind Yuka as we head on back to Gernot once again, still behind Seamus Power, but hasn't been overtaken by Paul Williams, at least at this stage. So the 4 of them stay in line, trying to see if they're being caught by Peter Konechny behind them because he's only back there by about a second and a half.
Yeah, and I think it's a little early because we're only on lap 4, so we've only had 3 laps of data to really go by so far. And I think right now is probably when the drivers are starting to take their first breath. They say, okay, the tires are up to temperature, the pressures are there. I've kind of settled into whatever spot I'm in on the racetrack. And now, Joe, I think we get into that meat and potatoes and see everybody's true pace.
Well, that was a great exit there from Yuka up in the 5 ahead of us. Look at him just streak away as he got the throttle down coming out of Oak Tree. Perhaps one of the most important turns on the track, coming up at a slow corner onto this long, long straight, almost reminiscent of turn 7 at Road Atlanta before they hit the braking here at the roller coaster. And it's back downhill they go to try and hit Hogpen. Another important turn here, double apexer out of this right-hander onto the main straight.
I love this racetrack, Joe. That final sector, it's so cool to drive, and you really just have to trust the car, trust the grip that the track is going to give you, especially here as we ride down through that compression section with Jason Clapper. You really charge down in there, and when you hit that compression, all of a sudden the car loads up with all this extra grip, and it just shoots you through that final part.
Looking for potentially move down into turn 1, round the outside here. Jason Clapper on Barry West, and it looks like he's going to get that one done. Clapper now up 4. He likes to play that hard charger role with him never qualifying. And Barry West demoted back to where he started this race. Impressively, Alex Ott, despite his bad start, is up to 14th.
And the number 6 car here, he's currently chasing Sam Ryman. If you all are familiar with Sam Ryman, he is one of the most respectful racers out there. So if Alex Ott is going to just send it, I think Sam Ryman might just pull over and let him do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of anticipating that, to be honest. In fact, Sam I mean, he doesn't even let him send it. He pulls over and slows a bit coming into the oak tree and allows Alex Ott through. Now, remember, Ott started in 6th when he spun off the start. Thankfully, he didn't hit anybody, but it sent him to the very back down into the first turn.
That's why he's having to climb back up through the order, and this is the 3rd place car of Topi Korteniemi. I've been noticing, Joe, he kind of reels in Yuka, but he's never quite close enough to present a challenge to make a move. This is probably as close as he's ever been.
Don't forget, if you want to follow everybody out on the track and we're not showing your favorite driver, you can check out gsrc.tv, where we've got live timing and scoring at all times, and that will give you everything you need, as well as a big welcome to our viewers on Facebook. Down into the left hook, another one of those tricky, slow corners, but this bleeds onto the snake. A swift back and forth, flat out in these cars.
Yeah, and it's just under the bridge here. You have your foot flat to the floor, accelerating, and this is the climbing S's. You just up over one apex, up over the next, up over turn 10, and then you finally crest the top of the hill and you hang on as you approach Oak Tree here. And Topi Korteniemi is starting to apply that pressure. This is as close as he's ever been. Coming out onto the straightaway, Joe, we're about to see those wing angles, the top speed differences now.
He's starting to pull on him. He's reeling him in, but it's not as quick as I would have expected. Will he have enough? He's going to have to do it on the left-hand side. Yes, that's the inside of the entry, but it's the outside of the main apex of the track here down into a roller coaster, and he's denied by Yuka.
But you know what? Great respect given between the two. Topi definitely didn't encroach on Yuka's line at all. Yuka left Korteniemi room on the outside of the track, so hey, that was round 1.
And he's got round 2 immediately. Topi has another nice pull, and this one's a little bit more straightforward, coming down into the horseshoe. He's on the outside. Usually this doesn't really work. I've seen it on rare occasions. He cuts back underneath, but there's no room to try and get inside.
That turn 1, it is so long, and it was very well defended from Yuka. You can actually drift out quite wide right there, but Yuka just kept his car really, really narrow and tight to the apex. Didn't allow Topi to do that over-under mover, the old switcheroo, as we call it. But round 1, round 2, I expect round 3 to be after Oak Tree again.
Yeah, he's still right with him. All he has to do is kind of hold on to the back. Unless he's brave here through the climbing S's. Again, like I said, there's just really no place to try and overtake. He knows it. He decides not to do it. Oh, but look at all he lost there through South Bend.
Yeah, it's a higher speed section, so you're dealing with more dirty air, and Yuka actually gets the car rotated extremely nice through Oak Tree, gets the launch out, and actually pushes Topi just kind of to an arm's length distance. But Joe, Yuka, he doesn't have that draft anymore in front of him. He's now more of a sitting duck. It's a one-on-one battle.
This time he defends the other side. Is that going to be a mistake? That's going to give the inside to Topi down through the roller coaster. Look at that. Yuka's doing a beautiful job here, holding him off, despite it seeming like Topi might be slightly faster.
Yeah, I just think with Pauli running away, though, it's only a matter of time before Topi is able to get around Yuka. I think it might come right here. Unfortunately, he's on the left side, the wrong side of the racetrack, entering turn 1. How deep can he take it on the brakes? Side by side between the two. He's not going to try to do the over-under around. He's going to try to go the long way this time.
So give him the inside down at NASCAR bend. Andy's got a nose ahead this time. Can he feed him out? Yes, look at that. Just enough space left to his rival. Fighting back into the left hook. Yuka Tolanen makes him work for it, but it is all over in due time.
And I think that was a great area to get that pass done, because now Yuka, he doesn't have another opportunity until after the back straightaway. So Topi can use this clean air, go up through the S's, use the dirty air behind him through turn number 10, just kick that all up into Yuka's face.
So far, so good, but remember, we kind of got the inkling that maybe Topi has a little bit more wing in it than Yuka, not a whole lot. Will that start to backfire here? Oh, I thought I saw some wheel spin off of the 5.
I definitely think that Yuka has Oak Tree figured out. He is able to get the car rotated in there and get the car launched out, but the top speed difference is actually shockingly very, very similar between the two right there. I wonder if Yuka was maybe lifting a little bit. Maybe he just wants to go up there and catch Pauli, but I wouldn't expect that out of Yuka.
So not enough, and it looks like Topi has managed to stay ahead. And to give you an idea of the skill that we're dealing with here, a 6,800 versus a 5,900 I rating. And that's just second and third place right now, although Topi does have the highest.
It's a little bit embarrassing when I go and look at mine, Joe, compare it to a lot of these drivers. The skill level, the time spent in the sim, it all shows here in these top-level splits and the drivers that it brings out.
Sadly, I think we've had a wreck with Alex Ott and another driver. I'm trying to make out who this is. Oh, and I said side-by-side's a bad idea. That looked like a little bit of netcode on top of things.
I definitely agree with you. A little bit of ghost contact as you come up through the S's. Probably the most narrow section of the racetrack, and we're going to see the two cars get a little bit close, and there was that ghost contact, Joe, but I have a feeling if it wasn't netcode, they probably would have met about 20 yards up the road anyways. Most likely,
and it was Daniel Banker, who is sadly our first retirement from the race, that was also involved in that one. Well then, we got a nice little battle that unfortunately is not going the way of Seamus Power, who finds himself, oh, excuse me, this is in replay. So Seamus, unfortunately, is no longer with that group with Gernot Friesche, Paul Williams, and Dylan Freckleton.
I think that was up top at the roller coaster section at the end of the back straightaway. So easy to do, and thankfully Seamus didn't go off there too hard, because when you completely miss your braking point, you mentioned all the runoff here, but that's one of the areas that if you go straight off, you can meet a wall.
Certainly, and as we follow Yuka Tolinen down into turn one once again, Kortanimi has not been able, has not given that one up. We head back to Dylan Freckleton now. Dylan currently sitting in ninth, and ooh, nice battle in front of him. Looks like Paul Williams is going to give a go at Gernot Friesche, but can't quite make the pass. So this is the fight for P7.
I mentioned I was going to keep my eye on Gernot and his kind of run up through the field. I think it's actually kind of stalled out a little bit, and I want to give credit to Paul Williams because he's been there battling Gernot this entire race. They've actually gone side by side a couple times down the back straightaway. So this is a tremendous battle between these two. And like you were mentioning, Dylan Freckleton is right now in kind of the catbird seat watching it.
And Gernot is another one of those drivers with a pretty high I rating, mostly because he's kind of been the biggest name in the Lotus 79 for a long, long time. He still holds the most wins in the series and the most championships, but ever since the car was changed a couple years ago, he's kind of been out of things a bit. He's gotten back to his winning ways recently, but today's not looking as likely. In fact, Paul Williams has a very nice run, but not enough straightaway.
Yeah, just kind of ran out of that top speed, ran out of that track before you got on the binders there. Has to follow Gernot through Hogpin here, hit that compression that I was talking about, stand on the gas and see what kind of toe he can pull up this kind of winding front straightaway. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough here into turn one. This front straightaway, not as long as the back straight.
No, but definitely the second longest straight, at least technical straight on the track. You're full throttle all the way from the Snake up to South Bend. So you could count that as a straightaway if you wanted to, since the drivers won't have to lift up through there. Boy, he is trying everything to get past Gernot Friesche, but Paul Williams now struggling with the dirty air.
I think Gernot is kind of putting that I rating on display right now. When you have your mirrors full with the competitor, it's just like anxiety that's right there. It's making you sweat. It's like the teacher looking over your shoulder at your assignment. Are you doing it perfectly? And it's so easy to mess up when you have those mirrors full.
Here we see the onboard with Sam Ryman now. I think we actually have an in-race report here from Sam. He's joined us now on the radio. Sam, we saw you give up to Alex Ott a little bit earlier, but since then we haven't seen you give up many places. How's the race going?
Oh, don't.
Just having to focus here.
Prix.
Yes, go ahead.
It's going okay. Barry West and AJ Roper, I think, have been having a little battle the last few laps, and it looks like AJ Roper's just won that, so I think he might be coming for me. But obviously, I was on the fence about qualifying. I did well, and enjoying it up here right now.
Down through the roller coaster here and up to the main straight for you. You're battling for the F2 championship. Do you pay attention to that? Is that something on your mind during this race?
I'd like to say no. I'm surprised that I'm still leading it, and I think I'm not going to be able to race next week because of Thanksgiving. So if I really do want to win it, I've got to, show up well here, and so far it's going well.
Well, we'll let you get back to it, and good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you.
So that's Sam Ryman. And for those wondering why he's worried about Thanksgiving when he's got a British accent, he's lived in America for most of his life. So he's going to be celebrating that next week, obviously, over here in the States. Back over to Jukka Tolinen. Oh, this is very good for Jukka. He's caught up to Topi. He's going to try to reel him in down the back straight. But, maybe I had it in reverse. This time it's actually Jukka, who, even though he's very close behind, is not gaining. He's going to show his nose, but backs out of it.
Whoa. But he gets into the back of Topi. Oh, no, spins Korteniemi around. That is not what Jukka Tolinen wanted to do, and you see him just kind of waiting to get back on the track. That was his version of putting his hand up and saying, I apologize, that was my fault.
And this has allowed Juho Raina to catch the back of them. It is now a three-way fight for second. Let's take another look at that. Yeah, I kind of agree, at least from initial look, that I think that was on Jukka for just outbreaking himself.
And we've seen this in real-world F1 before, Joe, is that when they're both on the brakes at the maximum of what they can do and one car crosses in front of another, well, guess what? That dirty air comes into effect in that car behind. That's why Jukka Tolinen locked up those brakes and slid right into Topi Korteniemi, it looked like.
So not only is Juho now part of this, Antti Lepisto is there, and Timothy Reed. Reed, our first driver that isn't a Finn, currently sitting in 6th place. He's been in a bit of a fight with Antti. We haven't been able to cover it as much as we hop on board with him with his helmet cam here. Just there's been so much action elsewhere. They've been kind of stuck like this.
And they're right here into this battle now, so you could consider this probably a battle for the podium between, 5 cars, because that loss in track position there. So Ali Partonen just in cruise control out front. I think the biggest story of these 5 cars, though, Joe, is how much damage the front 2 have, and is it going to hold them up at all?
Yeah, I'm wondering about that as well, as this is a good run from Tim, but looks like he's not going to go for it there in the background. You know, the other thing, speaking of the damage I was wondering about, this being the recently updated version of VIR, they now have the runoff and a couple spots that is paved beyond the curbs, and I saw the cars kind of going over it. Is that a potential issue where you could damage the underside over those curbs?
So I don't have enough time specifically inside of these cars in the sim, but yes, I think so, because we talk about it at other racetracks where when you high center the car, you can do damage to that floor, and all of a sudden you start losing lap time. Now, Joe, what you're talking about is basically these exit curves. We're going to see it right here on driver's right side as Raina goes all the way up over it. You could be scraping the car every single time you do that. Whether that's doing damage or not, I don't know, but it's a possibility.
Just, the drivers keep doing it, so I assume they know well enough that it's either worth the risk or they aren't really hitting the underside. But it is making me wince every time I see them try and use up every inch of track that is legal for a clean lap around here through South Bend once again. Lepisto being chased by Reed. Last time he couldn't quite gain enough for the pass into roller coaster. What about this time?
I think that what Antti Lepisto is grateful for right now is Mr. Raina right in front of him, kind of giving the slipstream to him as well. A little bit of that Carlos Sainz strategy out there, just kind of in the DRS train and not allowing anybody to have that top speed.
Yeah, just can't quite get in there. Obviously, these cars don't have actual DRS, this being the old school F1.
A tow train.
Yeah, a truly train, if we want to go a few years ago. But Timothy Reed is going to have to work hard to try and do this. Now, Topi Kortaniemi has actually split himself from Jukka Tolvanen. Have we covered that? It's now a second and a half between himself and third place.
So I've been watching Jukka, right? And ever since Topi got by Jukka, I don't know if Jukka is completely happy with his race car, whether that's from damage as we watch Jason Clapper try to get into this 11th place position. See if he makes a move down here on Peter into turn 1. Ooh, big defensive move from Konecny down into turn 1. Have Jason Clapper go the long way around. I think he is going to get that pass done, though, for 11th place. And what I was going to talk about, Joe, is Jukka. He just seems to be really squirming around in the car. He doesn't have the lap time that he used to have. I wonder if that's down to setup, if it's due to damage, or if it's just he's not comfortable here at VIR.
Peter is still up 1 from where he started, though, and he is up against Clapper, who knows how to make passes. So I think it was all kind of stacked against him potentially. So I don't know if Peter has any sort of damage, but he is still on a net gain overall since the start of this race. Back up to Timothy Reed, not as close as we've seen before, but definitely close. I just think it's not a long enough straightaway. Look at how many brake markers they have on the way into roller coaster. You're going so fast into that one.
Yes, you really are. Now, I don't have really anything past a GT3 car experience at VIR, but even then, Joe, AJ Roper taking advantage. That was Sam Ryman going wide on the exit of Oak Tree. But let's look forward on AJ Roper right here. As we come up to these brake markers, Joe, you'll notice when you get into the brakes, it's a big compression. You just have to trust the track.
And I was trying to see if that was intentional or not from Sam. Hard to tell on that one, because I almost wonder if he made a bit of a mistake instead of intentionally letting him by. But either way, Roper is ahead and now into 13th. And behind Sam, he's also got Barry West. But I think he's been running away from Barry West. So I'm not sure if he's going to be caught by him here with only 7 to go. As we come back up to Alex Ott, and how high has he climbed? Oh, actually, no, he had his incident earlier. No, Alex Ott is chasing on Miguel Moreland and about to make a pass.
Yeah, he must have had another incident at some point, Joe, because he was up past Sam Ryman, if we remember correctly. I don't think my memory has faded that much recently. But so Alex must have definitely had another issue somewhere.
Well, he had his run-in with Daniel Banker that we saw up through the climbing S's, and he was able to get the car rolling again.
That's
Banker
right.
was not. So that's the second one that put him down the order, and he's on essentially a second recovery drive now.
So yes, my memory is that bad.
Listen, I can't talk. It's certainly not that great now as I'm getting ready for 40 soon. But Timothy Reed here in 6th position is all over the back now of Antti Lepisto. But the Finns look very good on the defense today.
Yeah, but this is a good opportunity. He's very close going into turn 1. Lepisto moves defensive to the right side of the racetrack. Timothy Reed, oh, he's got a big lockup. Lepisto spins, and they both make contact on the exit of 1.
Oh, I thought Tim was going to be able to escape that, and he saw it coming. You could see him going around the outside trying to avoid, but they touched tires that flipped him into the air. Oh, Lepisto must have taken suspension damage because he's off the course, and so did
They
Reed.
both did. Yeah, I think that they both have broken cars. So watch, Reed's going to go around the outside. He locks up. He's in too deep. Lepisto, he was the one who tried to roll the center, so he lifted off the brakes and just carried way too much apex speed, spun it around, and unfortunately, Reed was already on the outside of the track where he and his trajectory were going.
Man, that is such a shame because they were having a great fight up till that point, and really, I mean, that was definitely a racing incident on both their parts, and sad to see them both taken out for something that really wasn't either driver's fault. But Dylan Freckleton, because of this, gets promoted now up into 7th place.
And also, Jason Clapper gets up a couple more positions. I believe he is plus 10 right now, so the next biggest mover is AJ Roper behind him, plus 7.
All right, so Jason Clapper with the 10 position gains. Next, trying to chase down Seamus Power. Has about 3 seconds to make up, though. So in 5 laps, that's going to be a bit difficult at this stage, but not impossible, depending on his pace over his rivals. Raina, I'm not confident that he's going to repeat the heroics of before. Pauli Partanen admitted last week that he struggled a bit because of lack of practice at Willow Springs. I don't foresee that being an issue here today.
VIR is a little bit more of a well-known racetrack than Willow Springs. It's also been around on iRacing much longer. So yeah, I have a feeling just the overall comfort level, the knowledge, definitely more here than where we were last week as we check in on Ian Haycox. And something pretty cool, Joe, you can speak on this more, but Ian Haycox uses hand controls because, simply put, he only has one foot available to use right now.
Yeah, a bit of go. Now at this stage, it's been a bit of go. It's strange to think of that at this stage, but he had an accident, lost one of his legs, and has since been hopped back in the sim, almost didn't miss a beat, and immediately found his speed, and now has to have special hand controls. You can see he still uses one of his with the brake and the clutch, but his throttle is a hand throttle.
I think it's incredible what he's able to do. I know that we have quite a few racers that compete that are handicapped, but what Ian does out here, especially given the injury, given what he's gone through, it's pretty amazing. And Joe, we're here in top split. This isn't just some random league race. This is the best of the best on iRacing here in the Lotus 79 cars.
Exactly. Now, again, Ian's not the typical driver in this car, at least on the broadcast races. Usually he runs in the Camel Series in the Audi GTO, but that's another H-pattern car that is very old and finicky. And I'd say he's adapted well, although I think he's been a bit outpaced by some of these heavy hitters up at the front, but 16th is no shame, I think, for Ian as we come back to Raina now, still chasing on Jukka Tolvanen, and Topi has run away from Jukka, but Pauli has really run away from Topi.
Yeah, but 4 laps to go. There's absolutely no way that Topi is going to catch our leader unless Pauli Partanen makes a mistake. But when they came into contact and they got back going, Joe, it was about 7.5, 8 seconds of gap. And Topi has actually been the fastest car on the racetrack. Now, we're going to see if Pauli's just kind of cooling off the tires and is going to throw in that heater at the end to try to get that bonus point for fast lap. But I'm checking. As of right now, second place has a 4/10, almost half a second faster lap than our leader.
Ooh, interesting. And usually we do not see gaps that big for the fastest lap with these top 3. They are usually swapping it by hundredths of a second between them, all pushing hard to try and take it at the end. Topi Kortaniemi, I'm sure, is well aware of this one, as he has gotten it down to a 33.2, but Partanen set his personal best now at a 33.5. So he's eked a little bit closer.
And we kind of have to draw on our memory here. When it's Pauli and Jukka, just a pair running away, Joe, what do? They just kind of do laps. They trade that fast lap back and forth, but ultimately they will set up that fast lap. They will cool their tires purposely for a couple laps in order to get that maximum grip on the lightest fuel load possible to set the fastest lap they can do at the end of the race.
They really do try and maximize this one. These guys are taking almost a modern F1 ethos to these old cars and getting the most out of everything possible. There's a bit of a slide there from Juho coming through Oak Tree, but he manages it well. Unfortunately, doesn't put him any closer to his fellow Finn.
He caught that too, huh? He just had a monster slide with the front end trying to get it to bite at Oak Tree, and then the rest of the car just kind of slid through the apex, but you can see it really affected him in the run down that back straightaway. Was not able to close in on Jukka Tolvanen at all. I mentioned how good Jukka was through that Oak Tree corner. I have a feeling that if he does have any damage on that car, he's just going to have to lean back, rely on that good driving style, and really get the launch off of those corners onto the straightaway.
Now down to 2 laps to go. Topi has set another fastest lap at a 33.224. This is one of our best battles out there on the track. In fact, I think it is the only battle right now. My timing and scoring is marking Timothy Reed and Antti Lepisto as a battle, but they're 0.137 seconds apart in the pit lane, so that's not really counting in my mind. Tolinen here trying to hold on to a podium and keep these top three as the dominant force. Yes, there's the exciting battle on pit lane.
Well, you never know. We could have a Ricky Bobby moment, Joe, where they're both sitting there across the wall from each other and they say, oh my goodness, we could run to that start-finish line. The tower is just right down there.
Exactly. But right now, it's going to be for some of the last places for them, unfortunately, if they do find a way to hop out of their virtual cars and dash to the finish. But as we hop on board with our leader, Partanen, going to be taking the white flag next time by. For those curious about our hard charger, Jason Clapper, he was gaining on Seamus Power, but I think he just made a mistake. He had cut it down to about 2 seconds and has gone back up to 3. So I think he'll kind of stop at 10 today.
So I'm curious here, watching Pauli as he takes the white flag. He's had 2 quite slow laps right now at 34.1. Let's see what this one does. Another 34.1. So that is well off the racing pace. Topi has closed it into now 3 seconds behind our leader. I think it's go time for the fast lap from Pauli.
Yep, this is his best opportunity. For those not familiar, these cars get lighter as they go. They get faster as they go. So it's 2 bonus points for the fastest lap. And that's why we're talking so much about this. With Pauli still fighting hard for the championship lead with just a handful of races to go, these bonus points could make a big difference.
Yeah, and I'm already seeing 3/10 to the good, and we haven't even reached the climbing S's yet. So I have a feeling Pauli Partanen was doing exactly that, just taking care of his tires for a few laps, let them come down in the temperature to their optimum range, and then really throw down the heater at the end.
And as we said, we do have the timing and scoring to be able to kind of tell what their lap is. I'm looking at Pauli, and it's showing him about 1/10 off of his fastest lap. Considering he's got to make up quite a bit of time, I don't think he's going to be able to do it.
I don't think... We're going to see. We'll find out soon enough here, Joe. Only a handful of corners remain.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like I said before, sometimes the timing and scoring can be a bit off, and it can lie to us. So Partanen could be pulling a blinder here and take it. Regardless, the drama of the win has definitely been sucked out of this one. He's going to take victory by 3 seconds. He lost some of the time to his rival Topi Kortaniemi, but it matters not because he will win here today, finally breaking the back-to-back victory pattern. And Topi Kortaniemi is going to finish second. Pauli did not take fastest lap. Tolinen will have to settle for third.
Yeah, that is your podium as we're going to watch some more of these competitors cross the start-finish line here. This is checking back in on Alex Ott. He's made his way back up to 14th. You see Barry West right there in front of him, but Joe, frustratingly too far out in front.
And probably very frustrating considering the speed he showed today. Alex was quick, just his troubles off the line and then his problem tangling through the climbing S's cost him quite a bit. Sam Ryman in that F2 championship still looking extremely good here today, as I think he's going to be the highest finisher in that F2 field with a 12th place finish. So that's the last of them to the line. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews coming your way soon.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. A bit of a spin there for Alex Ott off the line, but for the rest, it was certainly exciting in the early stages of the race with lots of good battles. But it was Pauli Partanen, once he was able to break the draft, who ran away and took the victory. He might be close to the championship now, we're understanding. We're trying to get confirmation on that one, as Topi Kortaniemi was second behind him. And credit to Topi, he was on a charge to try and chase him back down, considering he also had an accident at one point. The fact that it was only 2.5 seconds made that one quite tight. Jukka Tolinen was much farther back, but on the podium, Juho Raina was not able to repeat his win last week, but he still gets a fourth. Powell Williams gains up to fifth as Gernot Friesche goes from 11th to 6th, and Dylan Freckleton finishes 7th. Seamus Power gets an 8th today. Jason Clapper 19th. The 9th is followed home by Peter Konieczny in 10th.
Then in 11th, we have AJ Roper in the number 18 car. Sam Ryman, who we were talking to mid-race, finishes where he started, 12th spot, so picking up some great points for that F2 championship. Barry West in 13th. Alex Ott, the troubles we documented early on, fought back to 14th. Miguel Moreland, 15th. Ian Haycox in 16th. Ellis Spice finishes 17th after starting on the last row there. And then come, unfortunately, the cars that did not finish. We saw Timothy Reed and Antti Lepisto tangle in turn 1, and then Daniel Banker in the upper S's.
Well, of our 20 starters, the first one to cross the line was Pauli Partanen. Pauli, congratulations on the win, and I'm seeing murmurs amongst the paddocks. Does this mean that you have clinched the championship?
Well, at least they are talking like that, and I think so too. I did some calculation before the race, and I think if Topi will not win me, I will win the championship. So I'm quite sure I won just the championship, so I'm super happy.
So not quite clinched, but looking, a pretty sure thing at this stage, it sounds like. This race started out with Topi and Jukka relatively close. Were you trying your hardest to break the slipstream and kind of run away with it?
Yeah, when I noticed that Topi got very bad start, then I just decided that I really need to push right now, and I was hoping that Jukka will stay in my draft, but I think he made some kind of mistake or something like that, because suddenly he was 2 seconds behind me, and then I just decided, okay, now I need to push every lap like a quali lap, and we were quite a similar pace with Topi. He was a bit faster than me, but I was happy with my pace, and I was sure I can keep that distance to him, and then sadly they collided, and that was very, very, very bad. I really hope that we will get good race and good battle for win with Topi, so that's not the way I really wanted that to go. And after I saw they crashed, then I just started to brake to every corner like 50 meters early to make sure that I don't crash, because last time I was here I crashed from the lead and it still haunts me like big time. It was one of the first times I did big mistake from the lead, so I wanted to make sure I will finish this race, at least now.
Yeah, and I can understand, especially after last week, how that went at the start. And that explains. We were kind of musing and wondering that usually the fastest lap is a much closer contest, and Topi absolutely smashed it compared to you. So that explains all that. I mean, coming up next week when we head off to Montreal, do you try a little bit harder to take that fastest lap, since the championship is looking much more solid for you?
Yeah, no pressure next week. I will just have fun and have a good race and not really worry anything. This time I was just making sure that I win the championship, so there was no point trying to risk the fastest lap now. And this is very hard track. Like, you make a small mistake here and it will cost you a big time, so there is no room for error here. So it's a hard track to push, and Topi had great pace and he really pushed on the end, and he didn't even make a mistake, so amazing drive from him. Like, I'm sure if I will have pushed it, I'm sure Topi would still got the fast lap, sure, but yeah, I'm happy.
Well, congratulations. That was Pauli Partanen, your winner here today at VIR. And we do have Michael DeTurk in the basement and cracking the whip on that calculator, causing it to smoke as he's trying to figure out what the math actually is. In the meantime, Joey has caught up with second place, Topi Kortaniemi.
Well, Topi, a little bit of a bittersweet second place. You came in here, you got the fast lap. Did you maybe have the speed for the win if you were able to hang on to the back of Pauli?
I think I was a little bit over 2 seconds behind him by the time I got past Jukka. So I thought that like 1/10 at the time I could get in the draft and then maybe catch him for the last 5 laps or so. But what happened. So it is what it is.
Yeah, so we've seen a little bit of contact between you front three kind of throughout the season. This time you are definitely on the receiving end of it from Jukka Tolvanen. It didn't seem malicious, but it definitely put you guys so far back in track position. What was your view on it?
Yeah, you could look at it and see it as a racing incident, but I just don't see the reason to drive that far if you're not going for a pass. And because that's just asking for a net code or whatever.
Well, definitely a frustrating moment for you out there on the racetrack, but you got to think, fastest lap out here, you had a good qualifying effort. You got to draw some positives from this.
Yeah, I got a good flow in the last part of the race, and I think the track was flowing pretty well, and I was just able to push and not worry about it. It was kind of fun actually, but yeah, we'll see how the last 2 races go. I'm still going for the wins. I'm not gonna give Pauli a win with too many points.
Well, I gotta say, your microphone sounds great, by the way, Topi. So whatever you did over there, fantastic job with that. And looking forward, Montreal and Aragon, both pretty top speed racetracks. So you gonna lay that wing down for those?
Can I remove them?
Maybe you got to take out the file.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, Topi, congrats on second. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, congrats to Pauli for the championship. He was the faster guy overall. I would have hoped for a closer battle, but it is what it is. Congrats, mate.
Well, that was your second place finisher today, Topi Korteniemi.
The man who finished behind him was Jukka Tolvanen, who seems to have raised a little bit of ire from his rival, but Jukka sounded apologetic in the text chat afterwards. My main question, Jukka, is how damaged was the car? Because it looked like he kind of fell off Topi a little bit after that.
Yeah, I lost some top speed, but yeah, of course, first thing to do is say sorry to Topi, since it was completely my fault. So yeah, Topi had more top speed even before the accident, and he did a little mistake at Oak Tree, and then I was like, okay, this is possibly the only chance I will have. I won't have many opportunities for a pass, so I decided to show myself a little bit. I guess Topi had to brake earlier than me, so maybe if he was being very careful, he could have given me room, but no. And then of course I wanted to try and follow him as close as possible to get a chance on the main straight. So basically I would have been trying to stay on his gearbox and then maybe get a chance into T1, but yeah, I just punted him since I was underestimating the draft and the speed difference. And of course, as said, Topi had to brake probably a bit earlier than me since he had lower downforce. So yeah, I didn't want to end that battle that way. We had some nice battling before that until he got past me, but not the way I wanted to do it. And also it hurt me. I almost lost the third position as well, as Juho got very close, and I had to be careful that I don't cause more trouble when joining the track. But I just made sure that Topi will be there back in front of me, and I was not going to challenge him anymore. I was just going to let him take the second place since, of course, he lost the chance to fight for the win. So, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. So let's talk about the start of the race, though, because that was exciting down into turn one. Topi with a very good start, and then you kind of pulled the Uno reverse on him. You managed the overtake instead of him getting the lead.
Yeah, well, basically, I saw that Pauli and Topi will be going too wide, and I knew that the outside line is quite bad, so I just tried to follow Pauli as close as possible and use the open door there and succeeded, so that went well, but yeah.
Well, again, commiserations, but still a podium, so congratulations on that. And will we see over the next 2 weeks for the final rounds?
Yeah, well, I will see. Maybe Montreal, not so sure about the last week since it's a new track, and I don't know if I have time to practice a new track now, but yeah, I will see.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on a podium. That was Jukka Tolinen finishing P3. We have our points leader down in F2. I believe Joey is going to be chatting with Sam Ryman.
Sam, first of all, congrats on the 12th place finish here. How did you feel VIR went for you?
It went well. Last year here, I got spun out in the first corner. So, you know, that's why I was a little bit hesitant to qualify, like I was saying during the broadcast. But no, everyone minded their P's and Q's in the opening laps there. And yeah, I'm the number 19 car in the 20 car field. So I anticipated dropping back and, you know, look at the fact that 4 cars that were in front of me had incidents that would have been 16th, which I would have taken. But, you know, 4 cars had incidents, so 12th was very good.
Well, and we look at that F2 points championship that you are currently leading. You had the best day. Now, I know that Peter did finish in front of you, but Peter came in about 40 points behind you in that points championship. So I think you collected some very, very valuable F2 points. Looking at the rest of the season, you have Montreal and Aragon. How do you feel approaching those two?
Again, I'm going to be out of state. For,
that's right.
Yeah, for next week's race at Montreal. Joe, I hope there's not a Rolling Thunder race at Sunday night, in which case we'll need another commentator. But where were we going with this? Aragon after that. Okay, so the problem is I haven't spent time looking at the numbers and crunching them and taking into account drop weeks. I'm a consistent performer. I'm not a hot and cold performer. So that's where I think drop weeks are actually going to hurt me maybe a little bit in the closing weeks here. So that's why, you know, I wanted to get a good finish. So the fact that Peter beat me could be a concern. But the last race of the season is Aragon, and I did very well last season when we went there and ran Aragon until 1 lap to go when I spun it on my own. But so hopefully we won't repeat that.
Well, fingers crossed we definitely won't repeat that. And you can take a deep breath. There's no Rolling Thunder race that day that you were thinking of, so you're okay there. And I'm looking at the weeks counted. I agree with you. Once the drop weeks come into effect, it'll get pretty close. However, I do feel like you're still right there at the pointy end, so you can still claim this F2 points championship. So good luck down the road with that. We'll see how it all ends up here in a couple weeks. And is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
My car's sponsored by... I actually have a list here. I'll throw it all the way over there. I throw a list of sponsors that I meant to shout out in Lionheart if I ever got a podium over there, but I've never got a podium over there, so I kind of just threw the list over there. 4D Sim Racewear. Yeah, 4D Racewear. That's Jim Herrick. It's a clothing, iRacing, gloves and shoes. That's on my car on my beautiful Wednesday. By the way, I bought you all a picture I did of Wednesday earlier this year for you to admire. So I think a webcam kind of flips it around, but I think it's a very realistic painting, and I just wanted to present that because I think everyone loves that car. Okay, we went full screen. Director, how could you do that to me?
That looks awesome. And I was also gonna make a comment. I love the checkered flag, I love the cars on the table, and I love the shirt that you're wearing as well. So not only a great performance on the virtual racetrack, but a cool setup sim room out there for Sam Ryman as well. And Sam, good luck on the F2 points championship, and congrats on the 12th place finish here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was race day in the F1 world, but I have too much dignity to wear a modern day Ferrari shirt, so I got my old Michael Schumacher shirt here.
Well, that was Sam Ryman. If you want to listen to him more, make sure to go watch those Rolling Thunder races also right here on GSRC.
A bit of shots fired at Ferrari, too, there, I have to say. But I do have updates as we take a look at Oak Tree here. Rest in peace there, the old girl. It sounds like for the championship, from what we are told, that Pauli has indeed taken the championship. He cannot be overtaken by points. However, Yuka and Topi are still fighting for second, so it is extremely tight with less than 10 points between them. In the meantime, a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and thanks to the team today, Joey, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and a merchandise store, but also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. That next race that we keep mentioning, Montreal, will be Sunday, November 26th. This series is still on for Thanksgiving weekend. That'll be 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, including up next, we do have Rolling Thunder this week at Darlington tonight at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
Wow.